improve some running that way, but it's really not the most efficient way to train for a half marathon or for even getting healthy. And there's just so much misinformation online that it's easy to get even more confused just by trying to read and do a little research for yourself. But the real problem is that your training lacks accountability. You're not working with experienced, competitive, prize-winning running trainers that will know exactly what will work for you. Now, if you don't fix this, what will happen? Well, you'll waste weeks, if not months, of training time you can never really get back. You'll become more injury prone because you won't be running correctly or moving the right way, and you'll be more susceptible to overtraining, pushing yourself too hard too soon, and not knowing when to pull yourself back. So, what's the solution here? Well, it's good to integrate some accountability into your training. It's really important to get your training reviewed by experienced coaches who have your best interests at heart, and to join a community of like-minded runners who are also training for 5Ks and half marathons. They want to do it healthy, they want to do it injury-free, where we can exchange ideas and improve upon each other. That's why we invite you to try our 2-week Quick Start program to see if our exclusive community is for you. You see, we understand that a 6 and 12-month membership is a big commitment, so this 2-week Quick Start program is perfect just to get you running and get you feeling the benefits of the coaching and the workouts that we have to offer to get you running lighter, stronger, and smoother. All you need to do to join and get those 2 weeks plus that exclusive coaching is to click the link above or below this video. You'll get redirected to a page. You can enter your name and your email, and we'll send you immediate access to your 2 weeks. I'll see you on the other side. Hey, have you ever wanted to run a half marathon but don't know where to start or how to train for it? Well, we hear you. You see, a lot of our students, before they come to us, are looking to train for that half marathon or another competition, but they don't know how to train either. And here's the thing, just running won't cut it anymore. Sure, you may improve some running that way, but it's really not the most efficient way to train for a half marathon or for even getting healthy. And there's just so much misinformation online that it's easy to get even more confused just by trying to read and do a little research for yourself. But the real problem is that your training lacks accountability. You're not working with experienced, competitive, prize-winning running trainers that will know exactly what will work for you. Now, if you don't fix this, what will happen? Well, you'll waste weeks, if not months, of training time you can never really get back. You'll become more injury prone because you won't be running correctly or moving the right way, and you'll be more susceptible to overtraining, pushing yourself too hard too soon, and not knowing when to pull yourself back. So, what's the solution here? Well, it's good to integrate some accountability into your training. It's really important to get your training reviewed by experienced coaches who have your best interests at heart, and to join a community of like-minded runners who are also training for 5Ks and half marathons. They want to do it healthy, they want to do it injury-free, where we can exchange ideas and improve upon each other. That's why we invite you to try our 2-week Quick Start program to see if our exclusive community is for you. You see, we understand that a 6 and 12-month membership is a big commitment, so this 2-week Quick Start program is perfect just to get you running and get you feeling the benefits of the coaching and the workouts that we have to offer to get you running lighter, stronger, and smoother. All you need to do to join and get those 2 weeks plus that exclusive coaching is to click the link above or below this video. You'll get redirected to a page. You can enter your name and your email, and we'll send you immediate access to your 2 weeks. I'll see you on the other side. Hey, have you ever wanted to run a half marathon but don't know where to start or how to train for it? Well, we hear you. You see, a lot of our students, before they come to us, are looking to train for that half marathon or another competition, but they don't know how to train either. And here's the thing, just running won't cut it anymore. Sure, you may improve some running that way, but it's really not the most efficient way to train for a half marathon or for even getting healthy. And there's just so much misinformation online that it's easy to get even more confused just by trying to read and do a little research for yourself. But the real problem is that your training lacks accountability. You're not working with experienced, competitive, prize-winning running trainers that will know exactly what will work for you. Now, if you don't fix this, what will happen? Well, you'll waste weeks, if not months, of training time you can never really get back. You'll become more injury prone because you won't be running correctly or moving the right way, and you'll be more susceptible to overtraining, pushing yourself too hard too soon and not knowing when to pull yourself back. So, what's the solution here? Well, it's good to integrate some accountability into your training. It's really important to get your training reviewed by experienced coaches who have your best interests at heart, and to join a community of like-minded runners who are also training for 5Ks and half marathons. They want to do it healthy, they want to do it injury-free. We can exchange ideas and improve upon each other. That's why we invite you to try our 2-week Quick Start program to see if our exclusive community is for you. You see, we understand that a 6 and 12-month membership is a big commitment, so this 2-week Quick Start program is perfect just to get you running and get you feeling the benefits of the coaching and the workouts that we have to offer to get you running lighter, stronger, and smoother. All you need to do to join and get those 2 weeks plus that exclusive coaching is to click the link above or below this video. You'll get redirected to a page. You can enter your name and your email, and we'll send you immediate access to your 2 weeks. I'll see you on the other side. Hey, have you ever wanted to run a half marathon but don't know where to start or how to train for it? Well, we hear you. You see, a lot of our students, before they come to us, are looking to train for that half marathon or another competition, but they don't know how to train either. And here's the thing, just running won't cut it anymore. Sure, you may improve some running that way, but it's really not the most efficient way to train for a half marathon or for even getting healthy. And there's just so much misinformation online that it's easy to get even more confused just by trying to read and do a little research for yourself. But the real problem is that your training
position. All right, what's up guys? Happy Thursday live show. We're gonna play the super fun microphone game again. Let's see if you can hear me. Here we go guys. Hopefully this will be good. We got a super fun live show with guest YiOu Wang coming in. We'll get her on the phone a little bit. Craig is not here, he's on a plane, alas. Let's see if y'all can hear me. Let's make sure the sound is good. If it is good, then we will just keep this thing rolling. And if it's not good, well, you know, I'm gonna have to play a little tech support. Audio is working, my goodness. It was that dang microphone that we were using, guys, that really was messing us up. You know, sometimes you just gotta try some things, just like in training. Didn't work, let's get rid of that, pull it right back up. The other thing, if you guys can do me a favor, I don't think I have anything in my teeth, but if I do, do me a solid, drop it down in the comments. As my wife says, I sometimes have magnet teeth. I just finished up my little lunch, and so I could go ahead and talk to you guys. Well, good, I'm so glad that's here. Thursdays are always fun. It gets towards the end of the week. It's fun to talk to you guys, and it's fun to bring some, you know, super fun runners in. So before we kind of talk about YiOu and what's going on with her, just wanted to see how you guys, what's going on with training. I see Carla, Dominique, Sam, how you doing? Jessica, GDK Mouse, David Friswell, what's up? Rob, Tone, Jillian, Andrew, who else is in here? QWE0610, Carla, Deadbuck73, Ben, Make Peace. I love the YouTube names, that's kind of fun. Holger, hello from Germany. What's up, Holger? Yeah, if you're just watching, let us know, you know, where you're coming in from. Let us know if you're new, if you've only watched a couple of these things. That'd be kind of fun to see. We know some of you guys are like our regulars who are just on it all the time. We'll kind of see that in the comments as we go. Fun updates. We have our first ever the Run Experience Team Summit next week. And it's really fun for Craig and I. When we started this thing, you know, 4 years ago, it was nothing. It was just, it didn't exist. And it's just super gratifying to reflect back and think about something, turning nothing into something. And now we have 10 people who work for this was nothing, now something, and they're all gonna be flying in, and we rented this very cool, funky house in Inverness, which is way West Marin, and we are gonna just get some meals together, do some runs and some hike together, and you know, kick back, hopefully around a fire pit at some point or another, and just hang out a little bit. So super fun to do that, and just really looking forward to next week to all the team. All depending on our live show next week, you may be able to see some cameo appearances of some of our crew, which will be great. What are other kind of fun updates? Rachel says she's done with the snow. I totally get it. Our slightly softer selves in California are done with the rain, and of course most people would gladly take 50 to 60 degree temperatures and rain versus, you know, subarctic snow and ice any day of the week. But you know, we got soft hands out here. We callous easily. We don't love the freezing cold. That's why we moved out here in the first place. So having that is sometimes a little bit of a pain in the butt. So we're definitely looking forward to some sun. But yeah, it has been a winter, guys. It has been totally from a winter. Rob said, it's my first live show. Welcome, Rob. You are in for a treat. We'll give you that little extra bit of energy and pizzazz. What else do we got here? Lauren just says, just finished my first ever half marathon this weekend. We have a great guest today who's going to talk a lot about half marathons, and ultras. So you got questions, we will definitely have some great answers. Stephanie says, first time watching. Welcome, Stephanie. Super fun to have you guys on here. Yeah, I'm super stoked for that. So we don't really have any Craig's Crazy Kitchen today because Craig is on a plane to Mexico to go to a wedding with some friends. But I've got some funky mobility tools I'm playing with. Does anyone know what these are? I don't want to spill the beans, but do you know what these guys are? We'll see what you guys say down below. But I just bought these a couple days ago. I've been playing with them, and I'm starting to see a good difference there. And that's right, they are yoga toes. And what they do is you kind of put these like basically around your toes like this. And what they do is they help spread your toes apart and separate them a little bit. And so much time, just being in just shoes period, but being in shoes that are also narrower, our feet get a little bit jammed together. And especially this big toe, what I'm learning more and more, which is interesting, yeah, Gina says not a clue, is that our big toe gets pushed into the rest of our feet. And then all of a sudden we get this little bunion or hammer toe on this outside where we start pivoting off this part as opposed to rolling through here. So having something that can really spread your toes out can really store natural function to your feet and make this whole thing a lot better. Exactly. Toe stretchers, toe unjammers. Yeah, Jessica, I'll get to talk to you more about them next week. But I've been wearing them at first just like 15, 20 minutes. Kind of uncomfortable, but I wore them I think for 45 minutes today, and just walking around barefoot a little bit and just standing and working and even sitting. But it's been really nice, so check them out. If you're anyone who's dealing with, man, just anything in the lower leg, from Achilles to weird like lower calf or plantar fascia, even like kind of shin issues, there's always something associated with the movement of your big toe, like almost like so much of this I didn't even realize that this big toe can get locked up. And if I don't have my big toe's ability to flex up like this, that's going to create a cascading effect of issues further up. And it's like little millimeters down here can really create issues up there. So some things to think about, but I've been having some fun with them. Gina says, saw some toe yoga on Steph Bruce's last video. Challenging. Totally. Yeah, we're gonna try to get Steph on our channel for one of these live shows. She's starting her YouTube channel. It'd be super fun to support her and show you guys, but super cool that she's doing that. Well, let me see. Sam says MMA cage climbing trainers. That's right. Yeah, they could be like soft knuckles, exactly. Man, well, how many of you guys here are ultra runners or are interested in the ultra running space? Because, you know, our guest today is a total stud in the ultra running space. YiOu Wang, she's a professional runner for Under Armour. We're going to get into her story a little bit. What's really fun about her is that she didn't start, you know, running at a high level in high school and college. It was something she found and discovered later on. So it's kind of fun just to see her journey. You know, when she looks at other runners of her age, you know, she's coming in with, you know, fresher eyes and a little bit of a fresher sense, which is super fun. And she just has this great perspective on training and on life. So we'll kind of dig into some of the different adventures that she's had, some quick highlights. As I mentioned, she just finished second female in the BlackRock 100K in February. She was also 16th overall finisher of that race. She got her golden ticket, and golden ticket means that there was the top 2 spaces at certain qualifying races would get you a qualifying spot for Western States. Everyone else is lottery. So she won her way into Western States 100 in June. That's the granddaddy, the Super Bowl of all for the 100-mile races. So will be super fun to talk to her about that training. But she's also pretty speedy in marathon. She has a real passion for them. And she was training for the North Face 50 this fall. I was helping her out in the gym a little bit. Our friend Mario Fraioli coaches her. And the 50-miler was canceled due to smoke and poor conditions. And so they talked about it. And she decided, rather than find another ultra to do, because like the North Face 50 was like kind of the big competitive race, the championship, all the good athletes were going to be there. They decided to shift gears and race the CIM, the Cal International Marathon, instead in Sacramento. I don't know about you, but like the specificity of, you know, running 50 miles on trails, tons of terrain and climbing, to doing a pancake flat pavement, pounding the same cadence and turnover for a marathon as different things. Clearly she had the marathon fitness in there, but just the specificity was so different. But she rocked the marathon. She ran at 2:39 and change. Don't quote me on the specifics, but it was enough for an Olympic trials qualifying time. So amazing that she was able to perform at such a level even when she wasn't training for that event. Kind of crazy, right? So let's get YiOu on. I'm gonna get my little headphones on here. I'm gonna give her a call, and then we are gonna pull her on here. So, here we go. Getting YiOu on. Hello, hello. All right, so we're gonna transition you over to this screen. And now we should be able to see you, and we want to make sure that we can hear you okay as well. Guys, there's going to be a little clicking at first, which is how this thing normally goes, and then when it like gets all synced up, it should be okay. At first, but then should go away. How are you doing today, YiOu?
I'm doing really well. Well, I just went to your class early this morning, so that was a nice kick in the pants to wake up. Just throw some heavy weights around.
Yeah, we got in some squatting and some heavy side planks, and then we did some lunges and ball slams.
I really liked the lunges. With the weighted lunges, especially.
Yeah, those are great, right? With the medicine ball, always fun things to do. Yeah. Who do we got there in your lap?
This is Nigel. Nigel likes to be involved in whatever's going on.
Yes. And Nigel, you mentioned his little tripod.
He's a tripod. So you can do anything, even if you don't have all your limbs.
Totally. That's so funny. I didn't even pick up on that for a second. I was like, oh yeah, that is totally true. It's so fun, like, to see certain dogs that are rescued that have 3 legs, and they're just like amazing. Like, I see a dog in the park across the street, like sprinting, like running rings around the other dogs, and then like it took me a while to realize that it was like a 3-legged animal. I was like, oh my goodness.
I mean, dogs and cats and other animals, they're so present in the moment that they don't feel sorry for themselves. They're not depressed about missing a limb. They just go for it. They make it work.
They make it work.
And trust me, this guy is, for a three-legged cat, he is pretty agile.
Yeah.
Sneak in front of me through doors and things, and I'm just like, you're a three-legged cat. How do you do that?
Yeah, no kidding, huh? Well, that's super fun. And, you know, as we all know, getting cats onto internet videos is always a win. So anytime we can do that, we're doing
Nigel
something
heard
great.
There was the internet involved, and he was very excited. But
yeah. So you've been running for a while now. What made you choose to become a professional runner? And I use professional slightly in air quotes because it is one of those careers that, you know, we can kind of support ourselves, but not fully, and we have to straddle. And then there's such a big gap between, you know, some of the runners that, like the Usain Bolts of the world, right? And you know, contrasting that to some runners who are like, well, I'm a professional runner who wins, you know, my local 10K, right? So what does it mean to be a professional runner to you, and why is that something you're pursuing?
I think that being a professional runner means that you can make at least the majority of your income through running.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't even say through coaching, but through racing and running and making a living, whether it's through sponsorships or race winnings or bonuses. So most professional runners make a living through their sponsors, right? In the world of running, we still have this model where a runner is sponsored typically by a big shoe and apparel company. I'm sponsored by Under Armour. There's several other companies out there that sponsor a lot of runners. And as a sponsored runner, you have a base salary for the year, and then you also have a performance bonus structure based on how well you place at certain races, where it can vary from, you know, they might not care that you place at your local 5K. You know, most contracts will have structures where your bonuses will be large for something like the Olympics or a major marathon, and your bonuses will be small for local, like less competitive races. And I used to be a full-time teacher.
Yeah.
Because especially in trail and ultra running, it's really hard to land a contract where you can actually support yourself just as a runner.
Right.
So I ran, you know, when I first got into trail and ultra running in 2014, I was a full-time teacher. I trained and competed and also worked full-time. And it was difficult. I just loved running and competing, that, you know, it wasn't really important to me whether or not I was paid to run at that point, because I just really liked to run and I really liked to race. But as I got more and more competitive and started doing more and more higher caliber races, especially starting to travel internationally and wanting to go do these like marquee events, it becomes very difficult to balance a full-time job and racing the way that you want to train and race. And you know, I was not a runner in high school or college, so I started running on my own.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because so many professional runners, like, it's just an extension of what they've always been doing, and you could almost say that they've been setting themselves up for a, you know, quote unquote career in professional running, because they ran at a high level through high school and they carried that through to college. So when they just like switched gears to ultra, like, well, I've already been training at a ton. But for you, you came into it a little bit differently.
That's right. So I didn't run until I went to college. And in 2004, I spectated the Boston Marathon. And I thought, hey, I really want to run a marathon, but I better just start running. So,
okay, so question
yeah.
about the 2004. Was that the year it was really, really hot?
I
Do you
believe
remember?
it was hot that year, yeah.
And was that a year that it started at noon as opposed
Yes.
to like 10?
Yes, it still
Okay.
started at noon. So
So you may have watched me go by because I was a sophomore at Boston College.
well, you
I've been
inspired me.
waiting for this, YiOu, and that was my first marathon ever. I ran it as a volunteer or through charity through my college.
That's awesome.
So
Yeah,
funny.
Marathon Monday is just like a big party in the whole city, and I went out with my friends
Yeah.
to go spectate and have a good time, and I saw thousands of people struggling at that point because we were near
Yeah.
Kenmore Square. And I just thought, this looks so hard and so awesome. And these people, when they finish, they are so happy and they have
Yeah.
such a sense of accomplishment that I want to do it.
Yeah.
And I had to look up on my friend Google how to run a marathon.
That's why we're here. That's why we're here.
And I started like running a mile from my dorm and, starting with that. Couch to 5K. I think literally couch to 5K is where I kind of picked up the whole training plan idea.
So were you a student in 2004 or were you working at that point?
I was a student. So I went to college in 2003.
Okay.
So I was still a student. I was just running for fun with this goal of doing a marathon and qualifying for Boston because you still have to run a marathon before you run Boston because you need a qualifying time.
Yeah.
So I ran another marathon on Cape Cod, and that was my first marathon ever. Hit the wall at mile 20, right where the hills started.
Yeah.
And it was a brutal last 10K, but I made it under the qualifying standard at the time.
Wow. So did you go in with the intention of wanting to qualify? Like, did you have the time in mind for that first marathon? Or were you just like, come what may, I'm just going to experience my first marathon?
Oh no, I wanted to qualify.
Oh, wow.
It was my first marathon and my goal was to qualify. And maybe it's a good thing that I hadn't run or done any racing prior to that point because I had no idea how hard that benchmark is.
Yeah.
I just had no concept and no place of comparison about what it actually meant. I just thought, oh, well, I just got to run under 340, and what is that pace per mile? And let's just do it.
I mean, I could do that for a mile. That's not bad. How hard can this whole thing be?
So I think I ran 3:33 in that first marathon.
Oh, that is great.
Boston, and then ran Boston, trained for and ran Boston for the next couple of years. And I really got into a good groove of, I just want to run faster every year. I still wasn't in like a competitive running world or familiar with that, but I did start looking at some more complex training plans that would help me just lower my time. And it was sort of like approaching it as incremental goals. Next I want to run.
Couch to 5K advanced.
Yeah. Couch to 5K advanced. Like I wanted to run 3:20 and then 3:15. And then eventually it got to the point where I wanted to break 3 hours, for example.
Yeah.
And then in 2008, I met my now husband, Sean, who is from Mill Valley, California. And so in 2009, we both moved to California together.
And then you realize there's a place in the country that is green all year round. It isn't freezing in the wars. So you've done the marathon training through like December and January and February, March in the New England area. Like, you are made from tough stuff. Like, I did that for years. Like, it is brutal.
Yeah. It's like dark, it's ice, it's crazy drivers.
Yeah.
You are running on this one patch of semi-paved road/sidewalk, like the same patch for 2 weeks at a time, because that's the only spot.
Man. I just remember one time I had this like 15-mile run, and I'm like running along the Charles River, and I like stepped on something that I thought was just ice, and I broke through into like a puddle that was like 4 inches. And then I'm just like running, and that was like mile 2. So I had like 13 miles with like a frozen wet left foot, and the wind is like howling, and I'm just like, this just needs to be over right now.
It's character building, right?
It is,
because now
totally.
it doesn't really matter to me what the weather is in California. I mean, it's fine. You throw on a jacket and get out the door.
It's incredible. So, you know, as to part of your story, we got a few good questions. Gina asks, did you play sports growing up? And Carla asks, like, did you run any 5Ks or other races before like your first marathon as tests? Yeah. Did you actually do the 5K at the end of the Couch to 5K program?
I did. I did a Race for the Cure 5K.
Oh, fun. Right on.
And then I think I did a half marathon before my first marathon. So I did a Couch to 5K, not a Race for the Cure 5K in Boston. And then I did a half marathon in Boston, and then I did the Cape Cod Marathon, which ended up being my qualifier. And then when I was a kid, I actually swam for 2 or 3 years in middle school and high school. And then I played tennis, as in I swung a racket around, but it wasn't very good or very serious about it. So I would say I had a few years of swimming under my belt in terms of youth sports, but not very seriously. And I didn't do any sports later on in high school.
Yeah. So you know how to not drown, and in theory you have some hand-eye coordination.
I've lost that hand-eye coordination a long time ago.
Oh man, that's awesome. Okay, cool. So we got into the marathons, you started spinning up, and then the goal was to like get under 3 hours. How long did it take you to like advance from that 3:33 marathon down towards south of 3?
So it took from, late 2004 until I moved to California was when I broke 3 hours at Napa, and I think that was in 2009.
Wow, okay. Incredible. Our stories are so parallel because I went to Boston College. I'm from the East Coast. I was there from 2002 to 2006. I moved out to California in June of 2006. And in like 06 and 07, 08, I was pursuing triathlon and Ironman and trying to get faster. But it's so funny. We've just been kind of doing this thing. I haven't raced Napa, but I think I had an athlete up there. I remember cheering her on for one of those things. It's totally, what a trip.
Yeah, so after I broke 3 hours, I think I ran 2:56. The next logical goal to me seemed to be the Olympic trials qualifying standard, which for 2012 was 2:46. And so I got serious about this training and racing thing. I started working with a coach. I did a lot of workouts on the Mill Valley Bike Path and read Jack Daniel's book. I became a student of the sport. And then in 2011, I ran a couple of fast marathons. So I ran Napa again, and there we had pretty stormy weather, and so I ran 2:46:40, just missed the standard by less than a minute. And then a few months later, I went and ran Grandma's Marathon, where I ran 2:38. So
wow!
my standard.
So you went from 2:46:40 to 2:38.
Yes, although it's a little bit deceptive because it is a huge jump, but it was very different weather conditions.
Sure.
Napa's course is point to point,
Yep.
and we had rain and a headwind.
Yeah.
And it's also it's net downhill, but it has quite a few rollers and a big hill at the end. And I was running by myself for most of it, so it was pretty challenging conditions. And then it was almost the opposite at Grandma's, where it's a point-to-point course, but it's not quite so hilly. It's just kind of gently rolling. We probably had a tailwind. There were a bunch of other people to run with at the time, so I kind of just went with it, and I surprised myself there. I didn't think that I was going to run quite that fast.
So let's take us into that race, because there's so many athletes here that are, and we're getting tons of questions, so I want to get to some of them. But you were going in, like we always have a race plan, right? When we go into a race, what we think we're going to do. And the Napa and the grandmas were kind of interesting, because potentially with Napa, you were maybe going in thinking you'd go a little faster, but the weather pushed you back. So you had to make some adjustments. And then with grandmas, like maybe you weren't expecting a 2:38 and you found yourself ahead of your race plan. So like, how do you react to those, different scenarios, like when you're in the race itself?
I think especially for the marathon, you have to constantly check in with how you actually feel, right? You can say, I want to run a certain split, but there's weather conditions, there's course conditions. And I think for the marathon, it's all about keeping your effort level where it should be. You could have a really fast split, and if you feel great, then you feel great and you just keep rolling with that effort. And it could be a really tough weather condition day and you're working hard, but maybe your splits are slower, but you can't panic about that, because then you'll just waste even more energy, like trying to catch up or trying to make up time, and that just won't happen on a day like that. So you have to take advantage of when the conditions are perfect and know, like, okay, this is a day that I can go for it if my splits are faster than what I envisioned. Or is it a day where I just have to readjust my goals because the conditions aren't going to allow me to run the splits that I want to run? Now,
you're obviously like pretty well seasoned now as a runner. You've done, I don't know how many races or marathons or ultras, or if you even want to count. It's just a lot. Was this something that you've sort of slowly learned along the way, or was this something that was decently intuitive to you early on, right? Because, as athletes, we all struggle with that. Like, we start critiquing ourselves in the race early on, and there's that worry, like, oh my God, I'm not going to make it, I'm going to do this. Did you battle that, or were you on another level?
Oh, it's all learned from experience. I've had so many bad races. I mean, I've had 5Ks where I ran the first mile too fast and just like, boom, jogged it the rest of the race. Like, just over. So I've learned a lot just from personal experience. I mean, I used to go out way too fast in every single race. And now, after having had those experiences, I know better than to do that. I know not to do that now. I mean, I've had ultras where I've done a 50K and I've like really struggled the last 5 or 6 miles because I went out too hard and wasn't paying attention to a sustainable effort. And then, or you get caught up like immediately trying to race other people. And especially in ultras, I think the most important thing that I learned is you have to run your own race. And you want to be competitive, but you don't want to be outside of your ability or your training or your experience level right off the bat.
Yeah, for sure. You want to definitely respect those limits.
Like, struggling in the last 2 miles of the 5K, that's like 15 minutes, right? And like struggling in the last half of 100K is like,
man. Long.
Torturous.
Yeah, that's the worst. Well, I want to get into the ultra side of your journey for sure, because we got a lot of questions there, and that's a big part of what you're doing now. But guys, this week's giveaway is a new fresh set of Gooder sunglasses. Maybe Craig took them on his vacation. I can't find them, but they're the Iced by Yetis. They're like the all white Gooder sunglasses. They're super fun. 2 of you guys are gonna win a pair. All you need to do is click the link in the description of this video. And the best part, by entering this giveaway, you get to check out some of YiOu's channels. So you can follow her on Instagram. You can learn a little bit more about what she does. She's always posting really epic photos of, training in Spain and on Ibiza with incredible other Under Armour people, as well as just, the epicness that is Marin County. But you can also click on and learn more about her running camp with our mutual bud and her coach, Mario Fraioli. Do you want to talk about the running camp a little bit?
Yeah, so I've been working with Coach Mario for, 4 years now. Mario also lives in Marin, and he writes the newsletter, The Morning Shakeout. I'm sure some of your listeners are subscribed to that, and he also has a podcast.
Yep.
And Mario has been coaching a really diverse group of runners for quite a few years, everyone who does road racing to ultras to trail people. And he and I just love everything about running in Marin County. So we are hosting a running camp at the end of May, where we've rented out this really nice house in Mill Valley, and we're going to take people on some of our favorite trails and go to some of our favorite local hangout spots,
yeah,
for coffee and food and everything. So you should check it out. I believe we still have a few spots open for this. This is our first camp that we're doing together. So I'm really excited.
I know you guys are only doing, it's 15 or 13 spots total.
It's going to be for 12 spots because
12
we
spots.
So we're going to keep the group pretty small.
Yeah. And I know you guys are more than 50% sold out. Well, gang, what an opportunity if you want to come into Marin and experience some of the finer things in life with running. These guys know where the good coffee is.
It's going to be, there's going to be wildflowers out. I promise you the weather will be beautiful.
Yeah, good wine is not that far away. Definitely check that out. You guys will really enjoy getting some one-on-one time with you and Mario, and that is all in the Gleam link, so you could get a pair of sunglasses and you could sign up for YiOu's camp. How about that? How about them apples?
That's awesome.
So let's talk about the transition to ultra and what your first trail experience is like, because for those of you guys who are just signing on, you recently punched her, got her golden ticket to Western States. She's going to be running the Western States 100 in the end of June. And this is your second time at the starting line, correct?
Third time.
Third time at the starting line. All right. So you've been out
I've
there a few
done
times.
it in 2016, 17, missed last year, and 2019 will be my third time. Third time's the charm, right?
Third time's the charm. Well, actually, why don't we start there? How did the first two Western States go, and what are you looking to accomplish this year?
Okay. So in 2016, I had a pretty good race up until about mile 40, and then I really struggled with the heat and with electrolytes, and I had a lot of bad cramping, and I walked to Forest Hill feeling really sorry for myself and, way behind my personal goals.
What mileage was that?
Forest Hill is at 100K, so it's mile
60 miles in. Oh.
Yeah, so there's 38 more miles to go. I'm feeling really bad at this point. My whole crew is there. They're trying to give me broth and electrolytes, and I'm laying on the ground, not really responding much. But thanks to my crew, they got me back up on my feet and just started walking down the road. A good crew member will know how to motivate you.
Sure.
And their plan was to just get me upright and make me walk down the road and they figured I would be too embarrassed to turn around and go back to the aid station.
Just get her out as soon as possible.
Yeah, it's just get her out of here. And it worked. I eventually got a second or third or fourth or fifth wind and actually had a pretty decent last 38 miles and ran my way into Auburn. So I finished under 24 hours. I think I was 11th or 12th overall. but I was really happy to have finished after having like a really tough stretch in the middle.
Right.
And in 2017, I had a great race up until Forest Hill. So back to the Forest Hill aid station, mile 62. And then I left the Forest Hill aid station, and between there and the next aid station, I actually just passed out on the trail and had probably heat stroke, or, you know, like a really bad electrolyte imbalance moment.
Okay, now some people say like they passed out, like we sometimes say like I'm starving. And it's like, dude, you haven't eaten for 2 hours. Like, you're not starving. You're fine. You're not like, oh man, I'm so tired. I passed out last night. I slept.
Well, I
like,
scared the shit out of my pacer.
You passed out on the trail. You were with the pacer.
Yes, like, thank goodness I was with a pacer, who was an experienced Western States runner.
So you were up, and then all of a sudden, like,
I was just down on my back on the ground, and like non-responsive, really hyperventilating.
Do you remember like coming down to the ground, or like what's the last thing you remember?
I remember trying to eat a gel, which is pretty much the last thing I remember, and then I remember being on the ground and people above me.
Yeah.
Because some people had started passing, and so someone else had stopped to help, and they were like putting, you know, cold t-shirts basically on my head and just trying to cool down my body. And then medics came eventually from the next aid station, and they, you know, did a brief examination. And at that point, by the time the medics showed up, I had revived a little bit, I think, with electrolytes and with some cooling down. And so when the medics showed up, you know, I accepted assistance, so I was going to be out of the race at that point. And then I just walked to the next aid station and thankfully found a ride back to Auburn. So that was my 2017 Western States. So I think the trend is going this way towards having a good race all the way to Auburn.
Getting all the way to Auburn. And the challenge with this race is that this is going from some remote parts between, you know, Tahoe and the high Sierras and into Auburn. And so some of these places, like, they're not easy to get to via car or anything else. So like you're out there, like you're pretty exposed.
Yeah, I'd say the first 100K you're pretty exposed, and then some of the aid stations are only accessible by four-wheel drive or hiking, and there are parts where it's a long distance between aid stations. But I think that in the early part of the race, you're also around more people because the field hasn't gotten so stretched out quite yet. And so for the first part of the race, oftentimes, no matter where you are, you're running with other people, at least in the general vicinity. So I actually never felt that alone in the high country because there were always other runners quite close by. And I think that's a really great feeling to have because it makes those at least first 30 or 40 miles go by pretty fast. And once you get through Forest Hill, you know, you're closer to civilization, and also the aid stations are closer together.
A little bit closer together, so you have a little bit more. So Sam asks, you know, does YiOu have a vision point or focus during races in kind of like the mental game? And this sort of goes along with another question. Mary is asking, you know, for her, she like wants to get under 4 hours for her first marathon, and she's kind of asking how you keep calm during the race. And I feel like these questions are kind of similar, right? It's like, how do I, what am I focusing on? What's my game plan? And how do I stay calm during these, you know, inevitably stressful situations that we voluntarily put ourselves in, by the way?
It's fun. You should be having fun.
This is fun. Yeah.
It is fun. Ultimately, it needs to be fun. I think that in a race, I used to be really nervous at race starts. You sort of get like the jitters and adrenaline, and you just want to be bolting out of the start line and like do your thing. I think in the past few years, I've made a conscious choice to be calm at the start, and be as calm as possible leading up to the race. And I don't know if other people are able to do that, but I feel like I just decided I need to be calm before a race, because especially in an ultra, it's so much about execution and about being able to honestly make an assessment of how your body is feeling and how you need to get to the next aid station or the next mile mark. Like, there's so many things to keep track of: nutrition, hydration, what's your pace, how are your feet feeling, do you need to like put batteries in your headlamp now?
Right.
You can't waste time panicking or being anxious. Like, you just have to execute. And so I actually, after watching the movie Free Solo with Alex Honnold, I was like, that's one stone cold, like, executor of this is my plan for what I'm going to do. And so he's my role model for race.
Yeah. If you guys don't know who Alex Honnold is, Google him. He did this free solo attempt of El Capitan, which is this 3,000-foot sheer granite wall in Yosemite. And most people do this. Some people do this over multiple days. They're bringing tons of climbing gear. They're using ropes to stay safe. And he does this whole thing without any ropes at all. So literally one mistake, one fall, he's done. And, spoiler alert, he makes it. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a movie on it. But people, and I haven't seen it yet, I'm really excited to watch it myself, but people say they're just literally sweating in the movie. Even though they know he makes it, they're just like, the way they filmed it was just so powerful and captivating.
Yeah, it's an astounding physical feat, because it takes a lot of people have that fear of heights, and it's a situation where if you make one mistake, you're dead. But he approaches it with such a level of preparation and confidence, where when you listen to him talk about it, you're like, oh yeah, of course he can do this. Like, he's confident, he's prepared. And so going into a race, if you've done the training, if you have a good nutrition and hydration plan that you've tested, don't try anything new on race day. You know that all you have to do is execute your plan, and things might happen that are out of your control, like the weather, or I don't know, somebody bumps into you, or there's a random animal on the trail, which happens during trail races. You just have to keep calm, and you just have to follow the plan. You have to approach any surprises as, they're just little problems that you need to solve along the way, and just don't panic. Confidence is a choice. I learned that from Freakonomics.
I love that. And you guys, you wrote a great little post on her Instagram. I don't know if that was last week or a couple days ago, but it was something leading off with confidence as a choice, and I thought that's such a great, really well said. So,
going into the Black Canyon 100K 2 weeks ago, I didn't have a great training buildup, like not ideal. I had a foot injury flare up where I missed 2 to 3 weeks of what was supposed to be my hardest training weeks. I had to deal with a lot of rehab and, a lot of doubts about your health and just if your body's going to hold up. And I had also not run anything longer than a marathon in over a year, not since 2017. So I would normally have done a 50K at least as a lead up into the 100K, and I didn't have a chance to do that. I'd never run a good 100K race ever. So there were just so many things that I could have let impact my mindset going into the race. But I really loved this podcast that Freakonomics Radio put together, speaking to some other sports stars about how they approach, the mental aspect of the game. And that phrase just really stuck out to me, that confidence is a choice. You can choose to toe the line with confidence.
So this is really interesting, right? Because we all get nervous about, our races, but for most of us, this is like a hobby. And, circling back to the earlier part of our conversation, you have a contract with Under Armour, and I'm sure there are performance incentives in there. And I imagine for you, being on the starting line at Western States is maybe one of them. Mm-hmm. Right? So you're going into this spring 100K. You haven't run that distance. You haven't run a good 100K really ever. You haven't run at least a 50K in over a year. You're dealing with some foot injuries going into the race, so your training is down. So you have all of these cards stacked against you, and you're like, oh, I'm a professional runner, so there's also this an additional external thing on me that I need to perform.
Yep. There's, I'd say the life of any professional athlete has all of those pressures on it, where you are paid to be an athlete. You have to do your job, which is to perform. And so going into Black Canyon, I just wanted to get that golden ticket. And during the race, I thought a lot about how can I make at least that happen? Maybe it's not like I'm going to run for the win and try to, bury myself to catch Casey, but I need to protect my position. I need to make sure that I finish strong, because what is the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is I want to go to Western States. Like, sure, winning Black Canyon would be nice, but I know that I'm going into it with less training than I would have liked. I know that I haven't run an ultra in a really long time. So I need to have a goal that is attainable and that I can focus on, because I know I can work on my nutrition. I can work on going out at an appropriate effort level for where I feel like my training is. And what I want is that golden ticket.
Right.
I just want to get to Western.
So it almost sounds like it was going in with your circumstances. There was a little blessing in disguise there, is that it made you start off a little bit more conservatively in the race, which sounded like it helped pay off for a good 100K in the long run.
Yes, I think in the long run, my pacing was much better than it probably would have been had I, had great training and was feeling amazing. Then I think that I would have run much harder in the first part of the race, and who knows whether or not I would have had a good second half of the race. But I did feel like I had a strong second half of the race, and that my nutrition went well.
That's cool. So, were there women who were kind of running away from you in the first half of the race, and you sort of had to let them go and then stay focused? And is that different from how you normally race? Will you try to oh, I want to be in the top 3 or top 5, depending where I am, and in this race, I had to let myself drift down a little bit? Was there any of that happened?
Into the race, I was looking at who was signed up, and I knew that Casey Lichtig would be a very strong competitor, and I knew that her goal was also to get a golden ticket and get back to Western States. So on paper, it looked like it would be a race between the two of us, but you never know these days. There's a lot of young, up-and-coming names that I am not familiar with who can show up at an ultra and just dominate. So you kind of have to see how the race unfolds. And I think in the first part of the race, there was another woman who was running along with us, but she faded back quite early on. And so it became definitely just a 2-woman race quite early at Black Canyon. And I think Casey built up a comfortable lead, between 5 and 10 minutes, and it just stayed steady the whole race.
Right on. And so for you, you're like, okay, big picture, I don't need to chase her. I just need to maintain my good position because I've got bigger fish to fry later on this year.
Exactly.
I love it. So James asks...
Nigel says yes.
Yeah, Nigel says yes. So James asks, what is it about Western states that makes it so important for you?
It's in my blood now. You know, the first time I did it in 2016, I didn't even think that I would ever want to do a 100-miler, because there are a lot of other runners I know in Marin who've done Western states many times. And, you know, I come from like a road running marathon background, and I just always thought, oh, 100 miles, who would even want to do that? And then I did it, and it's hard to explain why you keep wanting to go back. Part of it is for the community. It's just such an amazing experience to have that connection with other people who are training for the 100 miles and other people who are going to be suffering with you for 100 miles, and everyone has their own story of grit and suffering and determination to finish that 100 miles. And then I just love California, and I think that race is a really good celebration of the history of California, of the Tevis Cup, which is, you know, the original horse race that's on the Western Trail, of just the crazy California endurance athletic spirit of like,
totally.
To be outside running all the time. Yeah, so I think for all those reasons, Western is really special for me, just for the history, for everyone that I know who's ever been involved with Western states, and also the amazing organization and volunteers and just the whole community.
It's like a moving city up there when everyone gets set up. It's really neat.
I highly recommend anyone to go and just spectate Western states, especially between Forest Hill and the finish. It's just amazing to see.
Oh man. Well, yeah, we could really keep talking. We didn't really get a chance to dive into any of the specifics of your training. I would love to talk about, you know me, I would love to talk about strength training, how you're, you know, working through with your injuries as you're training at a high level, but staying balanced with your body. So we'll have to maybe do another check-in later this spring and just see how, you know, the training is going before Western States. But before we go, do you have any more races coming up between now and Western States, so we can kind of keep an eye out for you?
Yeah, I'm headed to Europe before Western States. I'm going to do Transvolcania in the Canary Islands, which is really cool. I've never been to the Canary Islands, so I'm looking forward to just experiencing that landscape. I'm going to do my first VK race, vertical kilometer. Have you ever done one of those, Nate? Have you done the Broken Arrow?
Yes. I haven't done the Broken Arrow. I've done the Run the Rut.
Oh, that's at altitude too, isn't it?
Yeah, it was bad. I was, you know, full disclosure, I was very hungover. I thought I was doing a fun run on the mountain because it was like 3 miles, and it was just this brutal 3 mile.
Yeah.
Oh God. Yeah. Just.
Kilometer is it has to be 1,000 meters of gain in less than 5K.
Yes. So
3 miles, 3,000 feet.
So much. Like, I'm pretty sure I was just like literally crawling on my hands and knees, but I was like vertical. It was just like this. And it was, we started at, man, probably 875 or 8,000 feet. And yeah, I just add 3,000 feet to that. So we were up at 10.5 or 11 towards the end. So it's special. And then in the actual races, the Sky Racing Series, that's just part of the course.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that will definitely be a fun one. And of course, I'll get to see you in the gym. So thanks, YiOu.
Thank you, Nate. It's been great to be on your show.
Well, thanks so much. Well, guys, be sure to follow YiOu on Instagram. What's your handle again if people want to follow you there?
YiOu Wang Run.
Can you say that one more time?
YiOu Wang Run.
YiOu Wang Run. There we go. And we'll make sure we have that in the comments as well. That's also in the giveaway. If you guys want to go ahead and enter in the description, you can also check out her running camp with Mario. They're going to take you to all the awesome exclusive spots in Marin.
Very exclusive.
Very exclusive. You're gonna do some run incredible, crazy trails. Well, it's so fun. Like, you really get the insider access. Like, most people, when they go to San Francisco, like, they go to Pier 39, maybe they go to Muir Woods, and you guys are gonna show them like all the cool trails that really only the locals know. So you'll really get that flavor. And it'll be absolutely beautiful in May, especially with all this rain we've had. It's just gonna be neon and flowers. So
flowers
anyway,
everywhere.
Flowers everywhere. Well, YiOu, thank you again so much. I'll leave you to it, and we'll catch up again soon.
Sounds good. Have a great day.
All right.
Bye.
Very cool. So bringing ourselves back over here. Well, guys, that was so awesome. We brought it right to the end of the hour. YiOu's amazing, super uplifting, really, really fun to talk to. Let's, without further ado, do our giveaway from last week, which, if you were part of last week's conversation with Dr. Kelly Starrett, you know, he's giving away a Mobility WOD 101 course, 2 free entries worth $500 a piece. These are really, really incredible. They're online. You can do them anywhere at your own speed. So drawing the winners. Here we go here. Dun, 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 dun. All right, so we have Vincent Jacques from Cambridge, Mass. Congratulations, Vincent. You are a winner last week's giveaway for the Mobility WOD 101 course. And Hanna Maja Tunset from Trondheim, Norway. You two are a winner of the giveaway from last week. So congratulations, Vincent and Hanna. I'll follow up with you via email. I'll connect you with our good friends at Mobility WOD, and they will give you access to your courses. Of course, guys, thank you as always for tuning in. These are always such a pleasure. Next week, Craig will be back. Hopefully we'll have a few cameo appearances from some other members of our team as we'll be starting our team summit. Edward says the Mobility WOD 101 course is awesome. Edward, hopefully you'll get here in time, but we can get you on camera a little bit as well. You guys are great. Happy running. Spring is around the corner. Hopefully we don't have to be suffering in the ice and snow and cold for those of you guys who are doing it, and in the ice in the winter. Last little reminder, I will be at the Boston Marathon and at the London Marathon this year. We're first international trip going to London. So for those of you guys who will be around in both those situations, keep an ear out for details. We'll be doing some community meetups where you get a chance to do a little warm up with us, chat, meet other members in the community, and generally have a good time. Other than that, guys, I am gonna sign off, and I will see you guys later.